Very blustering.
Blustering. It's a Winnie the Pooh day.
Oh, bother. Yeah.
Hey everybody, I wanted to do a video for you today because tonight is our peripheral neuropathy webinar. So in the webinar itself, so the link is in the description of the video below. If you click on that link, it'll actually take you to the registration for the webinar. I try to keep the webinar somewhat short. I value your time, so and you value mine. So what I like to do is, what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to go through some of the step-by-step tonight stuff, because tonight's webinar is all about just kind of talking about the nuts and bolts, not really the nuts and bolts, but more of like the what are people's biggest concerns and what are they afraid of. That's what we'll get into tonight. But today we're going to talk about a couple of pathways with neuropathy, and I'm going to share with you exactly how we do this. So I'm talking to two cameras, so if you see me jumping back and forth, that's what I'm doing. I've got the computer here with you guys live, and then I am recording this for future use. And also we have our physician's assistants in the room with me. Dean Schwartz is here today. He's awesome. If you guys haven't met him yet, you need to. But he's in a hoodie and some sweatpants, so he didn't want to get on camera with me today. But you're going to meet him very, very soon. He's awesome. He's a great help to us, especially when it gets into the medication part of this, because as a chiropractor, I can't tell you to take your drugs or not take your drugs, but we have a full medical staff here. They can tell you. We actually could have used you last week. So it is what it is, right? So let's talk about neuropathy. First off, what does neuropathy mean? Okay? If you look at the word, most times it's referred to as peripheral neuropathy. And in the medical world, we really like to make up these acronyms and shorten them down to just PN, okay? So peripheral, the word peripheral basically means it's referring to the peripheral nervous system. So when we're talking about the peripheral nervous system, we're talking about any nerve that is on the outside of the brain or the spinal cord. So that's all it's saying is it's a nerve, but it's not in the brain, it's not in the central nervous system, it's in the peripheral nervous system. Neuropathy, neuro means nerve, pathy means problem. So if you just look at the definition of the word, what it tells us is there's a nerve problem outside of the central nervous system. That's it. That's all there is. They're done. So if you go to the doctor and you tell the doctor that you've got numbness, burning, tingling, it feels like your feet are on fire, they're going to tell you that you've got peripheral neuropathy. They're going to send you off for some expensive tests and some very painful tests at that. And they're going to come back and they may be able to tell you what nerve is breaking down. But at the end of the day, the only thing they're going to tell you is take medication. They're going to prescribe something like gabapentin, which it actually works on the brain. So it has nothing to do with peripheral neuropathy. It's working on the central nervous system, but it dumbs down the signal going to your brain that prevents yourself from feeling what's happening in the feet. But that is it. So what we're going to share with you is exactly how to reverse this. Again, in the description of the video is a link to the Zoom webinar tonight. We're going to be a little more detailed right now, but the webinar tonight, click on that link, it'll take you to the platform. So peripheral neuropathy. There are three main causes of peripheral neuropathy. Number one is, the most common is diabetes. Right? If you've got a blood sugar issue, and I'm not going to just leave that at diabetes, I'm going to put it into dysglycemia because there's several different layers of diabetic issues. But dysglycemia is the number one cause of neuropathy when those nerves don't get enough blood flow. When they get too much glucose going to those nerves, it shuts the nerves down and you stop feeling them. Number two cause is what we call idiopathic neuropathy. I'll explain that a little bit more here in a second. And then number three is chemo-induced neuropathy. Yesterday, I had one of my friends in here that we worked on his feet because he actually just got done with chemo. It's kind of a sad day for me and personally, just because this guy's been a good friend and a good patient for a long, long time, and his cancer prognosis is no bueno. So it's pancreatic cancer, and he basically has hospice on speed dial. So any day, but we're giving him some more comfort with his nerves. that's another story for another time. So back to idiopathic neuropathy. So if you read the papers, those are the three most common type. Idiopathic neuropathy basically in English means we're idiots. We don't know what to do with it. It's neuropathy coming from we don't know where. But I would change the name of idiopathic neuropathy to autoimmune-induced neuropathy. That happens when your immune system is attacking your own body, and it creates so much inflammation that it cuts out the blood flow going to those nerves and creates neuropathy. But all three of those, if we look at all three of those causes, every single one of those, it comes down to blood flow. Okay? Your nerves are like trees. So if you stop watering a tree today, is it dead tomorrow? No. Okay? It takes a few days for that tree to start to turn brown, start to look kind of ratty, and start to wither up. But if you get back to it within the appropriate amount of time, then you will, if you give it water, you give it fertilizer, you give it sunshine, those trees can actually come back. Your nerves work the same way. Okay, so the number one thing we need to look at is fuel. What do your nerves consume? They consume oxygen and they consume glucose. If we can get better oxygen and glucose going to those nerves, we can actually start to bring those nerves back. The number one way to do this is through diet. The standard American diet, I'm going to take this one step further. Okay, the standard American diet is the main cause of neuropathy. Standard American diet causes diabetes. Standard American diet actually causes cancer. Standard American diet causes these autoimmune issues that cut the blood flow going off to the nerve. So if we can get this straightened around and start eating the way we actually should, your blood pressure goes down, your blood sugar goes down, and then you start to get those nerves back because they're getting the appropriate fuel. This happened last week with one of our patients. He came in, he started making the necessary dietary changes, and I'll tell you what they are. They're more of a paleo/ketogenic based diet. That's how you can start to change your blood flow around or start changing those blood sugars around. This happened with a patient last week. He's on all sorts of blood pressure medications, all sorts of glucose medications, starts eating the way that he should, and his blood sugar dropped really fast while he's taking those meds, and he didn't have a good week. So he had to get back to the doctor and get his blood sugar or his medications adjusted. He's recovering from that now, but he feels his feet again. So the blood flow part of this is basically up to you. I will tell you that my wife and I, we do teach a Monday Zoom class every Monday, except for the last two, just because we've had personal things going on, because that just happens. But Monday nights, my wife and I do a diet class on Zoom. It's absolutely free. You can jump on there. I'll share the link. I didn't put it in the description, but I will share it with you later. But we do that class so we can actually start teaching people how to do this so they can start taking their own action. And it helps people lose weight, helps them get their neuropathy straightened around, helps people with their autoimmune issues. It's helped my wife tremendously. It's helped me tremendously. So that is all shared with you. Back to so the next part of this is the activation part of it. Hey, nerves, they're just like muscles. If you exercise them and give them the proper fuel, they get stronger. If you don't exercise them and give them the proper fuel, they break down. Most neuropathy is in the feet, so it's basically a breakdown in the nervous system between your feet, your spinal cord, and your brain. Somewhere in between with the long-term neuropathy people that are listening to this, that breakdown has been so long that it's all three of those areas. And I'm going to share a very simple principle with you about how your nervous system works. All those nerves going from your feet to your brain, all of those nerves are connected. Okay, so let's just call them nerve A goes up your leg into your spinal cord, nerve B goes from your spinal cord up to your brainstem, nerve C goes from your brainstem over to your brain. If you fire nerve A, you have to fire it, then nerve B will fire, and then nerve C will fire. The more you fire that pathway, the stronger it's going to get. Okay, so if you stop firing nerve A, that whole pathway breaks down. If you start firing that nerve pathway, the whole thing speeds up. So the activation part of this, for the most part, is different for everyone. Okay, but the main pathway that gets broken down carries vibration sense, it carries joint position sense, and it carries light touch. Okay, so for most people, for home exercises, I will have them do things like go buy a vibration plate. You can get vibration plates on Amazon. I know Amazon's kind of evil right now because it's big tech, but whatever. you can buy vibration plates on Amazon for $20. Okay, so you get one of those, start getting your feet on vibration, it'll start firing that nerve pathway. Joint position sense, I have things like windshield wiper exercises that I'll do. I'll make you another video about windshield wiper exercises. It's basically looking at your feet as they move, trying to reestablish that connection between your feet and your brain. Light touch, massage, things like that. Like last night, one of our patients was here, and I told well, let me back up. He's here because he is here for neuropathy. He's here for diabetic neuropathy, and his wife reported to me that he's getting ticklish. She started massaging his feet, and he's feeling it. He's starting to get ticklish. I said, that's awesome. Whatever you do, don't stop giving him massages, because those are going to help fire that pathway to get that whole thing, waking up. What's the word I'm looking for? Get the whole thing awake. Okay, so I've got his wife doing massage for him because of the light touch pathways. Now, as far as things we can do here in this office to accelerate the process, we have a couple things. One of them is called shockwave therapy. Some people call it pulse wave therapy. Guys like me, I go back and forth between shockwave and pulse wave, but we do have this device that is a lot like it looks like an ultrasound device, and we actually use ultrasound gel when we use this, but we put ultrasound gel on the feet. We use this shockwave device that uses an acoustic sound wave to pound into that tissue to create micro trauma in the tissue of the feet. I know that sounds terrible. Who wants to get micro trauma done? But when you do that, it actually creates more blood flow going to those nerves, and it actually causes your body to release these things called growth factors and cytokines, which are your body's natural healing chemicals to help wake those nerves back up. Oftentimes, if we do shockwave and therapy, even on the first visit, people will walk out here going, wow, I can really feel my feet again. Now, the second thing we use is called cold laser. Back in a few decades ago, NASA was actually doing research on plants and seeing if plants would grow with ultraviolet light, and lo and behold, they did. But coincidentally, they found out that the researchers that did the experiments, they were also, well, their wounds were healing. So NASA, being who they are, scratching their heads, okay, so why? Well, you fast forward a couple decades later, and now we know that there's a very specific wavelength of laser light that stimulates the mitochondria in the cells to produce more energy. With more energy, they heal faster. Bottom line is, the combination between these two things has actually been shown in research to grow nerves and nerve connections. So it's usually a combination of those two things that give you more of the instantaneous result. The people will walk out here saying, wow, I can feel my feet. But if you do the back end work, let us help you with that back end work and get better fuel. That's how we're going to get it to stop. That's how we're going to get neuropathy to go away. So what's the bottom line here? The bottom line is, learn to live with it is not an answer. There are direct actions that you can take. The link to the webinar is below. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.
Well.